concern for each other. I'm concerned with your part just as much as I am my part. I'm upholding your part just as much as I am my part. We have concern for each other's position. I'm concerned with how you're doing. It's not, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, but I'm concerned with how you're doing while you're doing it. Does that make sense? And a lot of that can be covered in prayer. I thought that was really cool that we have concern for each other. That's super powerful. And to know that when one part suffers, both parts are suffering. Somebody said it about arguing one time. How'd that go? You can win the battle but lose the war. Is that what it is? You might have won the fight. You might have won the argument. You got the last word in there, the last jab. You didn't win. You might have won a little battle, but ultimately the war was lost unless you came out with unity going in the same direction. And so it's a lot like that. When she's suffering, ultimately I'm suffering. Whether I feel it like she does or not, I'm still suffering, and vice versa. And so we have to look at that. And when we rejoice together. When it's all good together. When it's party time together. It's marriage. It's relationship. Because we're the body of Christ. And so what I'm talking about tonight is mercy marriage. How do we have a marriage that's doused in mercy? What's that look like? Division comes when people are too prideful to confess their weakness. Even in marriage, isn't that interesting? That even in marriage, we would get too prideful to confess our weakness. And division happens when someone is too prideful to say, I'm just really scared about this situation, or I don't know what to do, or whatever that weakness is, or I don't know how to help you, or I don't know what this looks like. Pride or division comes when pride comes in, because rather than humbling yourself to get answers, you'll just do what you want to do. You'll ultimately fall to selfishness when you choose pride. And so learn to confess your weakness. Weakness is not failure. Failure is quitting. Weakness isn't failure. Weakness is just an area where I'm not winning here. I need help. Man, we live in a world where it's hard for people to say that. Could I just get some help? I thought it was so neat today, the fellow that came in and snagged Jeff. We had this little thing and just said, I need help hauling a table. Can you help? And I thought, there's a lot of people that wouldn't do that. Even in the man world, because it's just like, I'll haul it by myself. And, then you have to complain about your back problems for the next 5 years because you were too prideful to stop someone and say, I need help. We live in a culture like that. And maybe it's more us city boys that experience that, but it's like everybody's so busy. We're in this culture where, oh, God forbid I interrupt anybody to say I'm weak and I need a hand. We can't have that in our marriage. We have to be able to realize that weakness isn't failure. Failure is when I quit or I choose selfishness. That's when you failed. And it's time to get some serious help. And so don't be afraid of weakness. One is weak, the other uses their strength. That's a mercy marriage. And we are just starting to learn this, I feel, that rather than seeing a weakness and getting frustrated over it or being like, oh, why is it like that? That's where I can jump in. If you're weak in that area, then I can jump in there because I have a strength in that area. One thing, I've mentioned this probably before here, but Jamie is super organized. I'm not. And so I used to be intimidated by that. Like if I ever did anything, it wasn't going to be organized enough, so the last person I'd show it to is Jamie. Don't show Jamie what I did. Because it was a weakness, and I was insecure about it rather than just being like, you're awesome at this, I'm not, I need your help. Can you show me how to do this in a way that looks good, it's organized, it's fitted, And so through time, I finally learned that, man, that's her strength that covers my weakness in that area. That's mercy marriage, where I am looking for what can I cover with my strength. And not being afraid to say, look, I'm just weak here and I need you in this area, or I could use your help in this. And if we refuse to do that, then it's just going to become a place of arguments, really. A place where we just start to grow bitter toward one another. And so as I'm talking, just think about that. What's that look like in my marriage? Where am I weak? Have I admitted it? Have I showed it? You probably know where the other one's weak. If I were to say, where are they weak? You'd be like, give me a paper, I'll show you a list. Right? That's easy to do. It's easy to point it out in somebody else. And we've even come to the point where it's healthy to have conversation about that. Like, I just feel like I'm not that good in that area. And that was hard for me to say for a long time. I think I just bomb it there. But once you do that, and once you can learn to just say, I need your help in that, it's like this weight lifts. And once again, you start to see God's supernatural power that's why she's in my life. And that's why I'm in her life. Is so that we can fill this thing and see a filling on that.
I'm a huge procrastinator, and I have been my whole life. And so I always try to convince myself and him, like, I just work better under pressure. And finally, just recently, he's like, you don't work better under pressure. Like, you think you work better under pressure, but you get frustrated and you get irritated. And so now even, like on a Sunday morning, it seems to be the busiest. He'll say Saturday night, like, get your clothes ready. And like, I should know these things. I'm an adult. But, just things to try to help me, or that calendar I said last night that we have together. If he can look ahead and be like, this weekend is crazy. Like, what's going on here? Why do we have this going on? And try to get things off of my plate, or help me plan ahead better, because he knows that that's a weakness of mine. So it's kind of cool, these little areas where we can help each other out.
So my encouragement is lift the burden. Galatians 6:2 says to bear one another's burdens. And this is really cool, because the end of the scripture says that if you do this, you'll fulfill the law of Christ. That's loaded. This whole thing, the whole law of, man, being a Christian is so hard. Well, bear one another's burdens, and you'll fulfill the whole law of Christ. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting, the word is bear, which means it's going to be weight on me. I have to come under too and squat this thing up. I bear it with you. I take it upon me, and I help bear that burden, and therefore I fulfill the law of Christ. So Christ is all over that when you start bearing each other's burdens. And this is why people struggle doing this, because usually that bearing comes in weakness. And if people are too afraid to reveal their weakness, you'll never get the bearing. You'll be bearing it by yourself your whole life because you're too prideful to say, look, I'm just stinking it up in this area and I need some help. And so I'm encouraging you today to do that, to not be afraid to do that. Your spouse should be able to handle that, I would hope. They're the ones we can trust the most, right? They might laugh at you and poke fun at you at night, but that's okay. Let them. Okay. We turn everything into humor. So if there's like a contention spot, we just turn it into humor, and then we can really make like a pun, but it's funny at the same time. It's like I'm saying something funny, but it's not, but it is, so it's good. Yeah, she's laughed at that. Oh no, she didn't laugh.
Nervous laugh.
Lighten the atmosphere. I actually wrote that. Wow, praise God. Lighten the atmosphere, which I meant by lifting one another's burdens, but at the same time, you'd be amazed how far humor can go. Not laughing at, laughing with. Big difference. Learn to demolish blame and become a team. This is the thing. If it's not a mercy marriage where I fill in your weakness with my strength and vice versa, then it ultimately turns into blame. And so any brick wall that you run into, any situation that didn't work out like you thought, you found yourselves in embarrassment or frustration or whatever, ultimately turns into, well, if you wouldn't have, or if you didn't, or since you did, and it turns into blame. And it doesn't look like a team, really, and blame. It's, no, yeah, I know I blew it there and I need your help, or whatever that is. You learn to start lifting each other's burdens and offering your strength in the midst of that weakness. Blame doesn't do that. Blame leaves scars, and actually, we've probably all been blamed for something. You just don't want to do anything with it next time. It's like, well, blame me again then. Right? It's not healthy at all. So learn to demolish that. And demolishing that starts right here. You can think it, just don't say it. right? Take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. And so even if it gets to here, it doesn't mean you have to say it. No, that's not going to help the relationship. Let's do something different. Learn to demolish that. Be a team. It will make you a team. Agreement destroys evil. Agreement. This is the whole thing Satan is scared of. You ever seen a couple in the world, hopefully not in the church, but I'm sure it's there, that has lived together for like 6 years? They're legally married, but they're not. Whatever. You ever seen a couple like that they just live together, they're not married, and they do awesome. They do really, really good. But then they decide we should probably get married, and they get married, and after they get married, they almost hate each other. It ends in divorce. I've seen a lot of those situations, and I've thought about that a lot, and I honestly think the reason why that happens is because Satan is so scared of the power of marriage that when somebody's just living together and just whatever, he ain't doing nothing there. But the minute they say I do and they make that covenant with God, better than the covenant you guys made in the skit, but when they make that covenant with God, Satan goes, oh man, they can kick my butt. And so he comes in immediately with a wedge because he knows there's agreement in that covenant right there, and we have to get it destroyed. And it's amazing how that happens. The minute you say I do, he comes in to wedge that relationship with whatever he can because the agreement's there. Agreement destroys evil. He can't stand with agreement. He can't stand under it. It's too powerful. And so realize how precious your agreement is as a couple. It's so, so cool when you can live in the power of agreement. We see this in 1 Peter chapter 3. If you got your Bible, you can look there with me. Oh, not Deuteronomy. 1 Peter chapter 3. Verse 8 through 11. Finally, all of you live in harmony with one another. Be sympathetic. Love as brothers. Be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. This don't fit into marriage. I don't know what does. But with blessing, because to this you were called so that you may inherit a blessing. Look at this. For whoever would love life and see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from deceitful speech. Turn from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Look at all those there that tie together. It's so powerful. First and foremost, though, live in harmony. What does it look like for you as a couple to live in harmony? You ever heard harmonious music? You can't really tell all the instruments because they all just blend into something glorious. Are you in harmony? Do you guys make a beautiful song, or is it kind of like a screeching on the saxophone? Please stop playing. Right? No, live in harmony. Learn how to be harmonious in your life with each other. We should be able to be in harmony with each other. Be sympathetic. That's how you do it. You be sympathetic with one another. Compassionate and humble. Don't repay evil with evil or insult with insult. That sounds so childish, but it happens if you don't embrace the mercy marriage. If I'm not here to cover your weakness with my strength, then ultimately I'll blame you for your weakness. Or I'll just stand back and watch you fail. And go, I don't get it. I don't get it. Just don't get it. It's so annoying. Don't get it. Right? And it turns into evil for evil, insult for insult. But we're not going to see good days like that. Scripture tells us that. And so let's learn to give a blessing instead of an insult when we get insulted. Because to this you were called, it says, so that you can inherit a blessing. The blessing of God comes upon your life when you choose to respond with blessing. Isn't that cool? And I think there's no better blessing than to give yourself. Give yourself to it. And it says a lot about your mouth. What's coming out your mouth? What is coming out your mouth? If you want to see good days, tame this tongue. How do I tame this tongue? I speak on purpose. So I look at all these and I think, this is living on purpose. I've said this a couple times this weekend, but living in offense mode rather than defense mode. I get up with my spouse and I live on purpose. I'm doing this on purpose. Okay, today we're going to be in harmony. Today I'm going to be sympathetic. I want to live today on purpose. I don't want to just let today happen and hope we get through it. I want to live it on purpose with you. Today we are going to make today good. Today we are going to make this good on purpose. And so what does that look like? And it's a lifestyle. All of this is a lifestyle on purpose, not on accident. Just hoping it's good or hoping it's not bad. A lifestyle on purpose. So make good happen rather than fighting against the bad. Think of that, the two sides of that. Fighting against the bad that's happening or purposely making good happen. Don't sit back and wait for bad to happen before you do anything. Start working it on purpose. It was very eye-opening to me years ago. We were doing a studying for a marriage thing, and I realized that marriage doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. Marriage won't sustain itself. It has to be worked. And so make marriage happen. It's an action. 1 Peter 3:14, just over a little bit. But even if you should suffer for doing what is right, you are blessed. How many feel like they're in that spot? Well, I'm always doing right. I feel like I'm the one that's always doing. I'm always giving. I'm always. Even if you suffer for doing what is right, you're blessed. You're blessed. There has to be a place where you just do good because God's going to be the rewarder, no one else. And if you can get yourself in that place, you can really make some awesome strides. Or I'm just, as we talked about earlier, I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do, and God will fill it. You've got to get yourself in that position, or you will quit. You will get tired and grow weary because you're waiting for a response from somebody rather than from God. If you will do what is right, even if you're suffering while doing what's right, you will be blessed. God will take care of his children, and he takes very good care of his children. He's a good daddy. And so we can't get into this, well, I feel like I'm always doing my best, or I'm always trying my hardest, and so-and-so's not your deal. Your deal is your deal, and God will deal with so-and-so. Right? Let him. He will. And so don't grow weary. If you can learn to fill each other's voids, you'll find out how much you need each other. This is a huge deal. When you start filling voids and seeing those voids filled, I've seen Jamie come under and do just some awesome things in our marriage for me. And it's like, oh, I'm so thankful for her. And you start to realize how much you need each other rather than just we're tolerating each other or this. That's just where we're at. We picked each other. No, you start to realize, I am so in need of this person. And I see why you put him in my life, God. And so and that only happens by filling those weaknesses and starting to fulfill each other's places where they fall. And then you start to realize, man, I don't know if I could do this without them. It's super cool. And the appreciation for each other just starts to rise. And anytime appreciation rises, honor is always present. Where you're honoring your spouse. It's so important. So find out what those are. I heard a guy say this years ago. I don't even know if we were married yet, but he says, your differences will draw you together. And I was like, your differences draw you together. Yeah, right. It's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But today I can stand here and say your differences will draw you together. And just like I was saying, the areas in Jamie that are not in me used to frustrate me. It was like, oh my gosh, like, hey honey, let's organize your shoes. Yeah, let's organize my shoes. You know, things like that. But now it's like, hey, we should organize my shoes. Will you do it? You know. I'm really pulling here. But you start to realize that these differences that at one time were so grinding, it was like, I can't even live with you because you're like this, now are the very glue that hold us together. Because when I don't have that, I know you do. And you have it better than anybody I know. And so it starts to pull you in together where you embrace those differences and you actually start to see this awesome thing called a couple that happens where you are a strong person. The Lord told me this one time, when you read about a double-minded man, you can take that in a marriage with two people that aren't in agreement. And that it says that double-minded person is unstable in all they do. But a single-minded person are two people that have done that very thing. They've let their differences bring them into one, and now they are so powerful you can't separate it. And when they come against the enemy, he is running scared. It's so cool. It's so powerful. And he's scared of it. So he's never going to quit trying to attack it. Super important. Did I have anything different from you that you were annoyed with when we got married?
Well, when is it on?
Uh-uh. You're mute up.
See how I filled that?
When we first got married, I was like extremely, like very much so a germ freak, and just, I mean, to the extent where it was not healthy at all. Like, we would travel with Tim and Tina, and I would bring my own pillowcase to hotels, and I don't think I ever brought my own sheets, but like bedding on hotels just really grossed me out. I'd bring my own washcloths, my own towels, and he was a bull rider, and he like did not wash his hands after he went to the bathroom, and it was just, I couldn't handle it. Like, it grossed me out so bad. So I was way over here, and he was way over here, and I think one day, you know, we kind of started to meet in the middle, but one day he's like, do you not trust God? Like, and I'd always be like checking for bed bugs at hotels and stuff, and he's like, do you not trust God? Like, why do you have to bring your own pillowcase? And I was like, well, it just grosses me out. And so he was like encouraging me to work, you know, more this way, and I was encouraging him to wash his hands after he went to the bathroom. And yeah, and before he ate, like, he'd be out working horses, and he'd come in, and his hands would be like black, and he'd just start eating, and it was just like flavor. So probably like 2 months ago, I was cooking or baking something at home, and I don't remember what I dropped on the floor. It wasn't like something dry. I don't remember what it was, but I just picked it back up. So what I'm saying, I guess we've met in the middle. I came a really long way. Germs don't even really faze me anymore, especially after having kids. Like, nothing as far as germs go even bother me, honestly, at all. And he came a long way. So we both came a long way, but I was cooking something, and I don't remember what it was that I dropped, but I just picked it back up off the floor, and I put it in, and I kept mixing it. And he's like, did you just pick it up? And I said, yeah. And he's like, I don't even think I would have done that. I was like, done well. So it just shows that now, like, we both worked at it, and we didn't allow it to destroy us. We allowed it, you know, to bring us closer together, and now here we are.
Right. And it's funny to me because those things, I could feel them grating in me when we were newly married. It would just grate at me, like almost a turn off. Just, oh, why? I don't understand it. And I never really said anything about it, but I always remember that guy's statement, your differences will draw you together. And I thought, that ain't not work. It's not working at all. But it so does. It's so cool to see. And those are just little areas, but there are big areas in our life that we're totally different, that are really, really strengths in our marriage now because we allow each other to fill those. And so my encouragement to you tonight is let those differences draw you together, not separate you. It might not feel like they are yet, but just work at them. Be real about them. Talk about, why do you do that? This goes all the way back to the normals teaching we did, that maybe that was just your normal, but does it have to still be your normal? Like, where are we at there? What's that look like? You'd be amazed how you just start to glue together. And it's amazing when you need that thing that used to frustrate you, you'll be calling for it. Honey, you are the one that fills this spot right here. And you'll see how awesome that mercy marriage is, where we start to fill each other's voids. 1 Peter 4:10. Be willing to serve. Just to sum some of that up. Be willing to serve each other. Like I said earlier, when you serve, you're like Christ. That is the closest representation to Christ you'll find, is when you're willing to serve and really just lay your life down for another. And so I want to encourage you, be willing to serve each other. I want to just look at this right here because I think there might be more in that. Without grumbling or complaining, each one should use whatever gift he has and receive to serve others. Yes. And so God has put those things in you. There's certain things in you that he has placed in your DNA, in your makeup, and he hasn't given them for you to look like a hot shot or for you to use up on you. He gave them to you to serve with. And what better to serve your spouse with those? My giftings, my strengths, those things that they come without energy. They're just there. Here it is. That's me. I use that to serve you. That's why I have it. That's the whole reason why he put it in me, was to give it away. And the coolest thing about marriage is when two totally different people can come together and offer their strengths to become something powerful. And listen, if two people aren't willing to offer their strengths, what are they going to do? They're going to pick at each other's weaknesses. We can't be those people. That will get us nowhere. And so if you feel like you're in a situation right now where you've either just picked at weaknesses or all you've had picked at is your weaknesses, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. We've got to change the direction of that relationship. It's not going to do you any good. Start picking at each other's strengths. And I would even say go as far as vocalizing them. You know, I just noticed this. You are really good at this. Have you ever noticed that? Do you feel that? Yeah, I do. And then it just kind of creates this stamp in your marriage that, all right, you're good at that. That's where you're good. Cool, we know that. And you can start to build this thing where you see each other's strength in the marriage. It's so important. It's just like communicating. We got to find this stuff early or we won't know where to get it when we need it. The greatest display of marriage is two people who can recognize the weakness in each other and be there to embrace, to strengthen, and to cover the situation. That, to me, is a healthy, strong marriage. And so, we're all couples in here tonight. The most dangerous thing we could do is hide each other's weaknesses. Or I should say, hide your own weakness from your spouse. You're not going to get anywhere that way. You have to be able to open that up. You have to be able to reveal that. And your spouse's response, if they can, should be, all right, I'll strengthen there. I'll do what I can in that area and add strength to that. You know, we had a flat tire on the van the other day, and I was just so hoping Jamie would change it, but she wouldn't. And just like, all right, guess I'll come change it. Did I tell you I wanted you to do that? Oh. It's so cool to see God start to use you as a team when you start to do this. And it's so awesome because you see God's involvement in your marriage all the time, where you start to see your giftings operating right there in your own home. So many people are so hungry to get into full-time ministry. I just got to get out in the world and show my gifts. Start in your home. Give it to your spouse first. If you want to be a preacher, preach to your wife. Sit her down and preach a sermon to her on the couch. See how you do. Let your kids give you thumbs up or thumbs down. Start in your house. You know, it's so funny how we think we have to get out to the world, but our ministry starts right at home, where I take my giftings, I take my strengths, and here they are. What can this proffer? And I'll tell you, there is just something so comforting about being able to say, here you go. Here's my weaknesses. I know I blow it here. I could use some help. That is awesome. And it was a long time before I could do any of that. Really. And so to be able to do that is super comforting. And I don't want any of you to live any longer where you're trying to hide those or trying to put on this facade that I'm going to share that, or I feel really stupid about this area of my life. Who better to feel stupid in front of than your spouse? Let them feel that. And so I just see this vision of this mercy marriage where two people are constantly filling weakness with strength. And if we can get that in our mind where My role in this relationship is anytime I see her stumble or anytime I see her about to fall, I come underneath and I pick up. I lift her arms so that she can win the battle. I fill that weakness with my strength, whatever it is. One area with raising our kids where I've done this is if I hear her talking to our children, trying to bring some discipline and they're not listening, immediately I spark into that situation. And I just feel that. Sometimes daddy's voice does a little bit more sometimes. And it's like, hey, you listen. And it's just another area rather than just, oh, let mama handle it. And it's just a little thing, but I'm not going to just let you go off and try to get it. I'm going to come behind you with everything I've got because you're my wife. I'm going to stand with you in this.